Today, Precarious plays
Metroid Prime 3, Corruption.
I want to talk a little bit more about what is throwing me off about this game.
Yeah.
Because I think I finally figured it out.
Lay it on me.
A long time ago, I watched a design talk. It was a TED talk of this one really popular designer that has changed her style several times throughout her career because, you know, like, who wants to draw the same thing forever, right? But she had this very interesting perspective of, like, why she would quit doing a certain thing and start doing something else. And she was also famous for executing at a very high level, right?
Yeah.
So she would just invent stuff, or at least it would appear so. You know how creativity, nobody's inventing anything. We're all just remixing. But she said that every time she had a big shift in her career, she found herself feeling very somber about the work that she had been doing up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that she, like, made a distinction between being serious and being somber. Right, a lot of her design was very good because she took it absolutely seriously, but seriousness doesn't necessarily mean, like, the absence of joy and fun. Like, you can be really serious about having a good time. You can be really serious about making something very beautiful.
That's what I do.
Yeah, and I mean...
It's insufferable.
No, it's good.
It's insufferable.
It makes good work, I think. I mean, my best work, whenever it doesn't matter what I'm working on.
I have, like, 2 friends.
Well, look, I'm not going to pretend like I don't turn off my seriousness for the sake of humanity sometimes, but I just sometimes need to take a step back to pretend like I don't care so that people can interface with what I'm doing. But I care very strongly. I take things very seriously, whether I am, like, making confetti or defusing a bomb. Not that I've had to do that in real life, but I'm a very serious person. I go all in on things. I be goofy, but I be serious about my goofiness. But, like, I don't really like that ironic perspective when you like something cheesy genuinely and then you pretend to be ironic about it. You're like, oh no, whatever, it's not cool. I don't like that whatever attitude. And the point that she was getting at was that she would go from being very serious about a fantastic idea that she was executing on a lot of the time, and then after it got to be too much of its own thing, it would start to get somber. Mm-hmm. It would start to, like, lose its joy. And then she couldn't take it seriously anymore. And I feel like this game is the beginning of Samus starting to fall into, like, an ironic trap. Like, I feel like the developers aren't taking this seriously. Like, they gave you buddies in an office environment and everything framed up in a way that feels like you should almost have a water cooler and a parking spot. Actually, you do have a parking spot. You have to manage your parking spots in this game. You know?
Yeah, and I've heard conflicting reports like in some ways it feels more ambitious, but I think that like the Metroid Prime developers, they accepted the brand not because they were like passionate about Samus or Metroid initially. It's just because they had an idea for a different game that I think starred like a trio of attractive women that were doing very Samus-like action adventure stuff.
Yeah.
And Nintendo was like, "Hey, do you guys want to make it a Metroid game?" And they were like, "Yeah,
sure.
We want to have a big brand that we are familiar with behind this. Why not?" But I think by the time they got to Metroid Prime 3, I think that the developers then were like, it had become burdensome.
Yeah. Like, you remember when action movies were stupid, but they would sell you on it instead of like being so dang self-aware? You know?
Yeah.
Like, dumb stuff would happen in action movies. And in your logical brain, you would be like, no, that, for example, that gun has 6 bullets. They just shot 80 bullets out of that gun. But everybody in the movie is like very...
Oh, I don't get to check the map before I go. Okay.
Oh, no.
Well, it's fine. What's one additional loading screen?
Yeah.
Pace killer.
Well, anyways, like when Indiana Jones is running from that boulder, like who's got a boulder to run from just hanging around, that sort of thing? But everybody in...
You know what's really funny about that boulder, though?
What?
One of the most obvious questions about it keeps having to be answered in pop culture, and the way video games have to, like, by their nature, the way video games have to answer some of the practical questions of a big rolling boulder trap.
Yeah.
Hilarity is the only result that you can end up with, because it's like you can actually see this in can I melt it? What if I charge all the way up and then do a shoot? Okay, no. So there's a rolling boulder scenario in Persona 5, and they actually have a bit of fun, because one of the obvious questions is like, wait, so they made this huge trap that's just one and done?
Yeah.
You use it
once,
and then that seems like a lot of work
for somebody to maybe dodge it.
Yeah, and the solution is like, oh, well, I guess we'll come up with this crazy complicated loading mechanism, and you have like a magazine, you have like a tower of additional boulders. Dark Souls did the same thing.
Remember, like, I was thinking about the boulder in Dark Souls and how that felt absolutely serious, even though it was a little bit goofy. Like, that boulder's gonna mess you up.
And the trick of that one is that it's like, well, all of those boulders have to end up somewhere, you know? And yeah, they end up stacking.
Yeah.
They end up stacking until it's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be like a recurring kind of, bless you, a recurring trope around it, which is that eventually there's a physical malfunction whenever they end up taking up too much space.
Yeah. But the point is with those boulders is it's a silly thing. We know this. But we don't have to, I don't think we have to point at the silly thing every time it's a silly thing and be like, hey, just so you know, we know it's silly. Like, quit defending yourself like that. Just be about the things you're about. And, like, making all of this... I don't know. This game makes me feel like it's busy explaining itself and justifying itself.
Boy, do I have a game to talk about that did that in total excess.
Yeah.
It's a hot item.
Oh, I know what's coming, yeah.
Man, I have been surprised at the, did I go a little too far? I think I went a little too far. I have been pretty surprised at the, not the critical reaction, because I think that, I just don't think that anybody wants to be the critic that poo-poos the Resident Evil 4 remake. Mm-hmm. But I have been surprised at the overwhelmingly positive consumer reaction to Resident Evil 4 remake. Mm-hmm. Because let me tell you, I've identified some pretty serious problems with it that don't seem to be... People don't seem to be discussing it.
Yeah, much. Like they killed a lot of the fun, silly stuff. The
castle is a hollow shell of what it was in the original. Mm-hmm. They gutted it. They took almost all of the fun, campy stuff out of it. You know how I was going down a list before, telling you all of the fun, campy stuff they removed?
Yeah.
There was stuff I omitted. Leon doesn't do his cool guy. He doesn't get his cool guy moment where he, like, shuts Salazar up by dramatically, like, interrupting a cutscene by quietly throwing his knife. Mm-hmm. And it sticks through Salazar's hand, and he winds up turning into this whimpering little weenie. Mm-hmm. And there is I feel like in their minds they got the spirit of it, because Leon interrupts Salazar in a different scene later, just by shooting him.
Yeah.
And it's not the same thing. It's not a cool guy move. It's like a loose cannon cop push too far moment. Mm-hmm. Like it
misses the rogue energy and goes for violent energy.
Exactly. It made me worried about Leon.
Like, are you okay, man?
You okay, man? You need to take a break?
If we're being realistic, he should not be. But the thing is that
why are we being realistic?
We're not. Yeah.
I want Leon to be a wisecracking Leon in Resident Evil 4 should always embody the line, "Your hand comes off." Because Salazar's like, "I've sent my right hand to deal with you, Mr. Kennedy." And his unflappable cool guy response is, "Your hand comes off." He's a goofing. Because he's in an action movie and he's the protagonist and he knows it.
Yeah.
And it's good. And it was good.
It was good, and now it is missing.
Yeah.